Have you ever been assigned to work on a Salesforce project with existing functionality and wondered, where is the documentation? If so, you're not alone. It can take hours to understand what's going on behind the scenes, and ideally, you'd want to create any missing documentation so that updates are easier moving forward. The good news is that AI can help you accomplish all of this very quickly. Let me show you how AI assistants like GitHub Copilot can turn code into readable documentation in just a few clicks. It's time to elevate your skill set. We are going to use GitHub Copilot to generate documentation in Markdown format. For those of you who don't know, Markdown provides a simple way to structure text using symbols. Markdown makes it easier for you to copy generated documentation straight into your knowledge base without messing up the format. By the way, many documentation tools like Confluence, Notion, and even Google Docs support Markdown. Before we jump into the first example, I want to give a quick disclaimer. Make sure that you have approval to use GitHub Copilot or any other AI tools before using them to generate documentation for projects involving client code or proprietary systems. Also, you'll need to make sure that Copilot is enabled for the GitHub account that is linked to your VS Code editor. Now that we have that out of the way, let's start generating some documentation. In this first example, I want to document the Spotify integration that I built out in a previous video. First, we will open our project in VS Code. Next, I'm going to use the Salesforce extensions to verify that all the code in this project is up to date using the Retrieve this source from org feature. Next, we will click on the GitHub Copilot icon to open the chat window. We need to enter a prompt that will be used to generate the documentation. Here's an example, but feel free to customize the prompt for your own knowledge base. Act as a Salesforce specialist. Can you generate some documentation in a Markdown file that explains what this code does? Please include sections like overview, prerequisites, components, how it works, example usage, and troubleshooting, as well as any other helpful sections. Now, we need to provide context to GitHub Copilot by adding the files related to the project that we want to document. This important step will help improve the accuracy of the documentation. I want to include the Apex class, the Lightning Web component, and the name credentials in this project. So I will select those files, right-click, then add the files to the chat. You should be able to view the list of files here. Once you have entered the prompt and have added the context, you can send this information to the chat. GitHub Copilot will take the information you provided and generate a Markdown file with the documentation you want. And the best part, it is formatted and ready to copy straight into your knowledge base. Let's paste this documentation into Confluence. As you can see, all the code and configuration has been documented in an easy-to-read format. I can gain a better understanding of the project and can make updates to the documentation as needed. Now, let's try another example. Here is a rental app project that I haven't worked on in a few years, so I don't remember how any of the flows work. Instead of going into each flow, we can use GitHub Copilot to provide a nice summary for all of the flows associated with this project. Let's start off by providing context. Since I want to document all of the flows related to this project, I will select to add each flow as context to the chat window. Now, let's provide an updated prompt. Act as a Salesforce specialist. Can you generate some documentation in a Markdown file that explains what each flow does? Please list out key features, as well as the fields, code, and other forms of configuration that are referenced within each flow. After sending this information to the chat window, GitHub Copilot will provide a Markdown file that we can paste into our knowledge base. This time, let's paste the contents into Google Docs. You need to make sure that Markdown is enabled for your Google document. Then you should be able to see the Paste from Markdown option. This gives a nicely formatted Google document containing all of the flow information that I requested, which saves us a lot of time and effort. So the next time that you're faced with undocumented flows or code, you don't have to start from scratch. Leverage AI to create documentation fast and go shock the world.